Welcome, listeners, to your next old-time radio episode, straight from the Golden Archives. Today's title is The Shadow People. No, yes. For those of you who have never heard of the Shadow People before, from paranormal culture, these beings are creatures neither living nor dead. They are enigmas. People still see shadow people or shadow creatures to this day. In fact, today you might have seen one or more and never even realized it. They take many, many forms. Some wear top hats, cloaks, a floating smile, and even cases of dark, misty-like legs walking without a torso or upper body, running away from people. And they seem to always be in the corner of your eye. Some people believe they are guardians. Some people believe they are entities from another plane, traveling through portals and using dark energy sources. Despite having so many different origin points, everyone seems to agree on one thing: intensely dark. So what do I mean by intensely dark? There are two examples I can give you. For those of you who are having a little trouble understanding what a shadow person would look like, first look up Vanta Black, V-A-N-T-A, Black. Go on, Google it. I promise you won't be disappointed. It's an amazing material. So many opportunities to scare the crap out of people in a onesie with that thing. But in looking that up, you'll get a quick understanding of what I mean by shadow person and what they could look like. And another way to picture these beings is turn the lights off and look into the darkness. And I mean really look. Find an object, place it in the corner of your room, and look for it with the limited vision you have. You'll notice the object is darker than the rest of the room, but you can't quite make out the image yet, but you know it's there. That, my friends, is what it's like to see a shadow person, something you can sort of recognize but not quite, and the darkness around it is, or at least appears, significantly more solid. Now, it wouldn't be stories, fables, ghostly tales without a bit of science, right? Predominantly psychological. Findings by neurologist Olaf Blanke of the Brain Mind Institute of Lausanne, Switzerland, showed that their patient, a 23-year-old woman with epileptic seizures, was feeling a male presence, a mystery person behind her, a motionless and speechless shadow that imitated her body and actions. He lay beneath her when she lay down, sat behind her when she sat down. So could shadow people be a misfire of the brain? A mixed up neurological link, perhaps? Blanke saw that most of these shadow people cases were found in patients with schizophrenia, where they often mistake their own bodies to be someone else's. Now this is fascinating. Attributing their own actions to others and sometimes other people's actions as their own. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole too far, but have you ever heard of stories regarding murderers coming forward to only be found that they were completely innocent, yet believing they did indeed kill that person? And I mean 100% believe they stabbed that person. They are not seeking attention, listeners. They genuinely believe they killed that person, when most of the time they could never have been in the position to do so, being that they physically and geographically would have no means of being there. A really good example is the rubber hand illusion. How the mind can adopt a limb based on visual stimulus and various sensory data. It's mind-blowing. Pun intended. Blanke says the brain uses sensory information such as visual and proprioceptive cues, which indicate the position of body parts relative to each other and everything else. When this function is disrupted, the brain perceives two bodies instead of one, and mistakes the second for that of a stranger. Ever heard of AIWS syndrome? What about Todd syndrome? Well, AIWS syndrome stands for Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Those proprioceptive cues sometimes misfire greatly, and the things that seem close to you are huge, and things that are far away from you ever so tiny. It's a real thing, and just shows how much our perception on the world around us can be affected. Now, I hope I've sparked your intellectual taste buds. Now let me add some seasoning to your paranormal steak. Tonight I serve you Halls of Fantasy. In today's story, is our protagonist simply imagining what she's seeing? Is what she's perceiving all in her mind? It very well could be, but it very well might not be. So turn the lights off, the sound up, and get ready to reach for the light.
And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Shadow People.
Elaine, have you seen anything else since you spoke to me last?
No, I haven't. Ever since Mother died, nothing's happened.
Well, I only hope... It came from upstairs. Come on.
Oh, you don't
I don't know what to say. I only hope it...
David, if anything's happened to him...
We'll see in a moment.
There's no light in this room.
You wait here, Elaine. Where's the light?
Over to your left. David. What's wrong? Why didn't you leave the light on?
Your father's dead, Elaine. Somewhere along the line of your life, you've met them. You have come in contact with the Shadow People. When did we first discuss it? Oh, yes, Brian and Elaine and I. It was in my apartment. There was only one light on in the entire place. What's wrong? Elaine, what's the matter?
Oh, it's silly, I know, but I thought I saw something in that doorway over there.
Where?
Over there, right over there. Where are you going, David?
Over to that archway, just to let you know that nothing's here. You see, Elaine, nothing's wrong, nothing at all. Are you satisfied that there's no one else here but us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just thought that Leave the overhead lights on.
I'm sorry, I thought that...
Put them back on, David, please.
All right, Elaine. Look, what's bothering you, sis?
I don't know. It's just that... I don't know.
Tell us about it, Elaine. Tell us what's bothering you.
You promise that you won't laugh at me?
Of course not.
Brian?
Oh, Elaine, I'm your brother. If something's troubling you, I'd like to know about it.
All right, then. The reason I was so upset was the fact that I saw someone or something standing in that archway.
Elaine, David showed you that there was no one else in here. The lights were put on, you saw for yourself that we were alone.
I'm not talking about something you can see in the light, Brian. I'm not talking about a human being.
And what's it all about, Elaine?
In the darkness, I saw something that can't be seen in a lighted area. And I've seen it several times before.
You sure you're not imagining this, Elaine?
Oh, I don't have that good an imagination, Brian.
How long have you seen this thing, Elaine?
Well, it started about 6 weeks ago. You were in Detroit on business, Brian. Mom and Dad were on vacation. I was in the house by myself, in the library. There was only one light on. I sat in the chair beneath it, reading. Several times I thought that something was watching me. I felt there was someone in the room with me, standing right in back of me. Every so often I'd glance back over my shoulder, but there seemed to be nothing there. And then I thought I heard someone whispering. I wasn't sure, but when I heard it again, I got up and I looked all over the house. Oh, I'm not easily frightened, you know that, but out in the hallway, it was almost entirely black. Luckily, I was near a light switch. I looked back over my shoulder, and I saw this huge, hulking shape for the first time. And I heard a voice. Or rather, the whisper of a voice. I couldn't distinguish the words, but that dark shape seemed to be moving towards me. My hand was on the light switch, and I turned it on. In a minute, the light flooded the hallway. The shape was gone. There was nothing there. As long as there's light, I know it can't hurt me. I know it can't reach me.
Might have imagined it, you know.
Of course, that's possible, but I'm sure I didn't. It was so real. So real, that shape in the darkness. It was the very essence of evil itself.
There was an old man I knew of, a Dr. Heselius. I'd heard that he knew quite a good deal about the supposed supernatural manifestations which had taken place in the world. I went to him to see if he knew anything that might explain the events of the story Elaine had told us.
Yes, my good sir. What do you wish?
I have an appointment with Dr. Heselius.
Oh, yes. He mentioned something about it. You are Mr. Drake.
Yes.
If you'll come inside. Dr. Heselius is in the study. Please come with me. Doctor, a visitor for you.
Oh, yes. Bring him in. You may go now.
Yes, Doctor.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Sit down, please, in that chair over there.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what is the nature of your visit to me?
Well, I understand, Dr. Heselius, that you have a great knowledge of the supernatural manifestations which have occurred on the earth.
Great knowledge, Mr. Drake? No, hardly that. I have only scratched the surface in my years of study. Perhaps I can help you, but again, perhaps I cannot.
Well, may I tell you the story?
By all means, my good sir.
All right. Now, this didn't happen to me, Doctor, but to my fiancée. It seems that about 6 weeks ago, when the light was on, the dark form disappeared. And that's the story, sir. As much of it as I can remember.
Mm-hmm. I see. It's a strange tale to tell.
I'm fully aware of that, Dr. Heselius.
You say she seemed to hear whispered voices?
Yes, that's what she says.
I see. A moment, please. I have a book in my file. Oh, yes. Yes. This is the one. Yes. Perhaps I may be able to help you after all. Let me see. This is a very ancient book, Mr. Drake. I seem to remember... Yes. Here is an account of a happening such as you relate. And we shall live on the earth, and they shall not see us.
Yet it has been foretold by the ruler of the darkness. They who live by day, retire to sleep by night, shall never know that we walk with them, that we watch them, that we wait for our chance. Only in the night will they see us, for in the daylight we are not seen. Only in the night, when the darkness grows together and the forms of the shadow people are shaped from the blackness, they will know us.
They will know that we are their companions, for we are the shadow people. I knew I had read something similar to the story you have told me, Mr. Drake.
Dr. Heselius, what can we do?
Well, give me a little time. Let me see if I can find any more references to these people of the darkness. One more thing, Mr. Drake. Be sure that your fiancée is never left alone at night. Be sure that there is some living thing, animal or human, which accompanies her every second of the night. For she is in danger, Mr. Drake. A terrible danger.
That night, the night of the day I had seen Heselius, Elaine's mother died. She died in her sleep. When she failed to appear for breakfast, Elaine's father went upstairs to see what was wrong. When he entered her room, he discovered that she was dead. The family doctor couldn't explain it, for Elaine's mother had been in perfect health. A few weeks later, I was out at the house spending a weekend with them. I glanced at the clock on the mantel, and it showed 11.
I can't understand why Brian hasn't returned from town.
Well, he said he had some extra work to catch up on. He told me this morning that he might be late.
11 o'clock. I'm going upstairs. Glad you came out, David. Good seeing you again.
It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Well, don't stay up too late. See you both in the morning. All right.
Night, Jack.
Good night, Mr. Davis.
He isn't the same, David. Ever since Mother died, he hasn't been the same.
I didn't realize it until tonight. He's changed.
I only hope that he'll start living again. Ever since she died, it seems that a part of him died with her.
Elaine, have you seen anything else since you spoke to me last?
No, I haven't. Ever since Mother died, nothing's happened.
Well, I only hope. Came from upstairs. Come on.
You don't think...
I don't know what to think. I only hope...
David, if anything's happened to him...
We'll see in a moment.
There's no light in his room.
You were here, Elaine. Where's the light?
Over to your left. David, what's wrong? Why didn't you leave the light on?
Father's dead, Elaine. I'd walked into the darkened bedroom. On the bed was Elaine's father. It didn't take a second look for me to know that he was dead. I switched off the light and walked back into the hallway to tell Elaine what happened. And then from the room there had come an eerie, quiet laughter. In the darkness of that room was some unknown evil power. The voice itself was unearthly. There was no substance to it. It sounded as if it came from the darkness itself.
No. No, I don't believe you.
It's the truth, Elaine. There's nothing more I can do. We'll have to notify the police.
Tell me it's not the truth, David. Tell me it's not true.
I'm sorry, Elaine. I wish I could. The father's dead. After the burial, Dr. Heselius got in touch with me. He said that he wanted to meet both Elaine and Brian, that he wanted to talk to the three of us. Accordingly, a few nights later, he came out to their house.
Miss Davis, will you tell me just when you saw the first manifestation?
The night Brian was in Detroit.
Now, Miss Davis, you have even seen this apparition in the company of other people, is that correct?
Yes. The night at David's apartment.
All right. Now I'll tell you what I think. You are in deadly danger, Miss Davis. These beings want to claim you. So far, they have had no success. Only in the darkness do they have power. Little by little, step by step, they have been removing the obstacles in their way to reaching you. First your mother, and then your father, Miss Davis. Both died in the same fashion. In the darkness, death struck at them. Now tell me, do you feel their presence here in this room as I talk to you?
Yes.
Turn out the lights, Brian. Stand by the switch, if you please, Brian. If anything happens, turn the lights back on.
All right. Dr. Heselius, I don't...
Do you want me to continue working with you?
Yes, sir.
All right, then. Brian, turn off the lights.
Yes, Doctor.
The room now is in darkness, Miss Davis. Do you feel or see anything?
No, Yes. Yes, I do.
Do you see anything?
Yes.
Doctor, I hope...
Be quiet, you fool. I know what I'm doing.
In front of me. The darkness gathering together into a huge, terrible...
Not only do you see us, Miss Davis, but everyone else in the room also will see the vague shapes forming themselves in the blackness. We do not want you, Dr. Heselius. The girl we want. We advise you to drop this case. You will only bring down the wrath of the shadow people upon your head. The girl. We want the girl. Do not stop us. Let us take her now.
Turn on the light.
They're gone.
Miss Davis, are you all right?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Just as she said. The darkness. I saw it form into something, too. So did I. What are we going to do, Dr. Heselius?
At the present moment, I don't know. But it's much I do know. You must leave this house immediately. You must try to get out of their reach. I don't know if that is possible. I hope it is. I shall have to return to my home. I must learn if there is some manner by which we can defeat these creatures. For the moment, leave this house. Dispose of it in any manner you may see fit, but leave this house.
Back now to our story. an original tale of fantasy by Richard Thorne entitled The Shadow People.
We spent the night in my apartment, the three of us. The following day, Brian and Elaine made arrangements to dispose of the house. In the afternoon, Dr. Heselius called me and asked that I come to see him.
David, I'm glad you're here.
Anything new, Doctor?
Yes and no. You realize, of course, that this spiritual manifestation is not new, that it has gone on for centuries.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
It's true, David. De Maupassant wrote what was supposedly a fiction story about the manifestation, David. He called it Orla. However, according to the information here on my desk, it was taken from an actual case history. Of course, he embroidered the story, added a few touches to something he didn't realize actually existed.
But have you found anything with which we can fight them?
Everything depends upon an answer I received from a colleague of mine in Paris, Dr. Henri Renaud. I dispatched a telegram to him last night.
Why hasn't he answered by now?
There are certain things that must be done. It will take a few days, I'm afraid. We have to wait, David. There's nothing else we can do.
In the next few days, the house was sold, and Brian and Elaine moved into a newer, more modern home a few miles from my apartment. Cecilia said it might take a few days for them to build up their power. I spent the night at the new house. The lights were left on, and I watched for any unusual occurrence. In the daytime, I'd return to my apartment and get some sleep. About 4 days after Elaine and Brian moved into the new house, I was at home when Heselius phoned me. Hello?
David?
Yes, Dr. Heselius?
I hate to tell you this, David.
What's the matter? What's wrong?
They were a step ahead of me, David. I just received word that Renaud died or was killed. At the very moment I sent the telegram to him.
Step by step, they had outwitted us. For they had anticipated every move we'd make. Even Dr. Heselius was at a loss as to what to do. He agreed to meet me at the Davis house.
What did you want to see us about, Dr. Heselius?
Did you find out anything more?
I'm sorry to say that I haven't. At the moment, I'm at a complete loss. I don't know what to do.
But what did you want to see us about this evening?
Merely to check, to see if anything else has happened. Miss Davis, have you seen or heard anything?
Not in the house, only in my dreams.
Your dreams?
Yes. When I go to sleep at night, in my dreams, in the darkness, I see them.
And it's grown worse, much worse. I was hoping that it would not have progressed so far. There has been no disturbance in this house, but now they disturb your sleep, Miss Davis. Now, you must stay awake for as long as you can. I want the three of you to move into my house. Perhaps that will give you more protection.
That night, we moved over to Heselius' house. Perhaps Elaine would have more protection there. From there, we might be able to devise some plan of action, some way to beat those beings. For a few days, things were quiet. The shadow people seemed to have withdrawn. For a while, I thought that we might have succeeded in thwarting their purpose. Elaine no longer complained of troubled sleep. But that condition lasted for a few days only. About 10 days later, they made themselves known and felt again. That night, we were in the study, when suddenly Heselius whirled around and...
Elaine, what are you looking at?
Outside the house. Right where the light leaves off, I see them.
She's right, Dr. Heselius. I can see them, too. What should we do, Doctor?
Nothing.
What do you mean, nothing?
There's nothing we can do.
We can't just...
We can't do anything, Brian. Don't you understand that they have us at their mercy? The greatest man in my field was Henri Renaud. If he could do nothing against them, what do you think we could do?
He's right, Brian. There's nothing we can do.
As long as the house remains lighted, just so long will they remain outside. If the lights were...
That sounds...
When my father was killed. The same sound. We heard the same sound.
The lights! What's happened to the lights, Around?
Be quiet, please. I thought of this emergency.
The candle.
That's right, Miss Davis. As long as this burns, this one candle will be safe. For the cannot advance into the light. They are limited by the darkness. As long as the candle burns, they will have to remain outside of this room.
Around you, in every room of the house, in the darkness outside, we are around you. This time you shall not escape. This time we will blame you.
Take it easy, Brian.
I can't stand it.
Brian, come back!
Don't, you fool. I'm going after him.
Stay here.
We just can't let him
You
go.
don't have a chance. I doubt it. David, I'm afraid that your brother is dead.
The wind, Doctor. Listen to the wind.
I know.
Yes, Doctor. Listen to the wind. You must realize by now that the three of you haven't a chance. You must know in your minds that we can destroy you at any moment we desire. But, Dr. Hecelius, you may still save your own life. Let the others go. Give them to us.
No. No, you will have to take all of us.
Shall we destroy your light? Shall we move in on you now?
As you will. Do as you will. Sorry, David. The candle is out.
The figures in the darkness. We warned you, Hecelius. You and the others are dead now. And we shall live on the earth. And man in the day shall not see us. They will know that we wait for our chance. That we walk with them. Only in the night, when the darkness grows together, when the forms of the shadow people are shaped from the blackness, will they see us. Then they will know that we are their companions. Look next to you, there, in the shadows.
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend to the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Crawling Thing.
Be quiet. I don't want to wake the others. Look at the cage.
What do you mean? The mouse. What happened to the mouse?
Let's go over to the cage.
The spider, it's doubled in size again.
I know. The mouse is gone. Now, look at the partition between the two pens.
There isn't any partition.
That's right. And I don't think the partition slipped down between the two cages. I think the two holders for it were opened and then the partition slipped down.
That means you're endowing the spider with
intelligence. Yes, that's right. Remember what I said earlier? What would happen if the S quantity also enlarged the ability of the brain to think? Well, it's happened. That spider will kill. It can think. That hairy, crawling thing can think. Quite by chance, I've come upon this little diary of Emery's. The mirror of a man's mind. I shall read you only those parts which concern the experiment. The months which brought him into contact with his ultimate death. Oh, yes. It begins on this page. July 7th. Today I met Dr. Henry Sindler. I've always recognized him to be one of the greatest research men in this field. I applied for the position of his assistant.
I only hope that he accepted me. It would be a great opportunity for me if I managed to get the position. I remember when he walked out to meet me.
I take it that you are Mr. Bolton?
Yes.
Sindler, Dr. Henry Sindler.
Yes, I know.
Please sit down, Mr. Bolton. It distresses me to see a man like you nervous and shaky. I'm not going to hurt you.
Well, I'm sorry, sir.
Now, you no doubt are aware that I drive my assistants to a state of utter exhaustion, that I expect quite a good deal from them.
Yes, I'm aware of that, Dr. Sindler.
Yes, all right, good. And thank you for coming to see me, Mr. Bolton. I have many other applicants to see before the day is over. If you are accepted, we will notify you.
But Dr. Sindler...
That is all, Mr. Bolton. Good afternoon.
July 11th. I was accepted. He called me this morning and said that he had chosen me to fill the position. Yesterday I felt sure that I'd been rejected and almost accepted the position with Gates, but something held me back. I am to see him tonight for dinner.
This is Donna Atwell, Mr. Bolton, another member of the research team.
How do you do?
It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Atwell.
Will you join us in a martini?
Yes, certainly.
The laboratory up in the mountains should be completed by the end of this month. I have a few things to clear up here before we start on this new research. I imagine you're willing to live with me and the rest of my staff?
Oh, yes, by all means, Dr. Sindler.
Yes, excellent.
I'm very interested in knowing what we're going to do.
Tell him, Donna.
Dr. Sindler is endeavoring to discover a method by which he can make plants and animals larger.
Larger?
Yes, Emery.
Well, how?
Every living thing, be it plant or animal, gives off electricity to a greater or lesser degree. By means of the electroencephalograph, science has already discovered the human brain gives off small microvolts of electricity. When a man becomes angry, this charge is strengthened. With the increased flow of electricity, his physical strength is also increased.
Dr. Sindler is looking for the chemical which is released into a man's body, along with adrenaline, which gives a man this added strength and which also increases the microvolts of electricity.
I see.
Your cocktail. Allow me to propose a toast to our work together. May we have success.
July 23rd. The laboratory is finally completed. Sindler and I are going up by car tomorrow. I am impatient to begin. July 24th. We arrived shortly after noon today.
I'll take you on a tour of the building later, Emery. Now I want you to meet the others. Donna, will you and Dr. Henderson come into my office, please?
Yes, Dr. Sindler.
Besides the four of us, the only other persons in the building are the cook and janitor. I dislike having too many people engaged on one problem. You understand, of course.
Certainly.
Miss Atwell and Dr. Henderson have been my colleagues on several other occasions.
Well, the building is perfect, Henry.
Yes, Henry, they've certainly given us everything to work with this time.
Emery Bolton, this is Dr. Paul Henderson. You already know Miss Atwell.
How do you do?
Glad to have you with us, Bolton.
Emery, you are to work on the effect of the unknown chemical which is released into the body at moments of anger or peril along with adrenaline. I shall try to isolate the chemical. You are to discover what effect it has upon the nerves and brain.
August 4th. Sindler has isolated the chemical. He calls it the strength quantity, or S quantity. He fed some to a lab mouse.
How much time has passed since the injection?
3 hours, Dr. Sindler.
Let's look at the pen.
I hope we have more success this time.
I think we will.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the mouse does seem to be larger.
It is larger, Donna.
Then we found the formula.
We can't be too sure if it's safe. The other subjects died.
Dr. Sindler,
Yes?
How large will the animal grow?
We have no idea of knowing that, my dear.
Do you think there's any possibility of it growing too large?
What do you mean?
We're changing the size of that animal beyond all proportion to what nature has evolved. Do you think there's any possibility of the subject growing too large for us to handle? That mouse there might grow into some hideous monster that could destroy us all.
I'm here in this seemingly deserted laboratory. In my hands, I hold the diary of Emery Bolton. Though there's nothing in his words that should cause me to feel any alarm, still there's something I feel that causes me to look back over my shoulder into the shadows. I continue with the diary. August 5th.
The animal is 3 times its normal size. It killed 2 other mice.
Emery,
Yes?
how is your part of the research coming?
I've written it down for you. Here.
Let me see. The effect of the S quantity increases the microvolts of electricity, and we go on.
Dr. Sindler,
Yes, what is it, Donna?
Paul wants you in the isolation room immediately.
Why? What's wrong?
I don't know. He just told me to get you.
Oh, come with us, Emery.
Wonder what's happened.
We'll know in a minute. What is it, Paul?
Henry, the mouse died a few minutes ago.
What?
Yes. As you know, the S quantity has an immense effect on metabolism. I imagine the animal wasn't able to stand the strain.
What are we going to do?
We'll try it again. Failure may mean nothing. Perhaps the animal was sick. We're not sure that the strength quantity will kill.
August 9th. Cinder told us to feed the S quantity to another mouse and also to one of the large, hairy banana spiders, a member of the deadly tarantula family, in the cage next to the mouse. I was with Henderson when the feeding began.
Open the cage door.
Right.
I'll set the food in here, like this. All right, close the door. Now the other one. Open the cage door.
All right.
There, that'll do it.
Paul, do you think the spider will react to it?
I don't know. I imagine so. Spider,
What's the matter?
Ever since I was a small child, I've hated them. I get nervous whenever I see one. This type, especially.
You're a scientist, Paul. You should be completely objective in this experiment.
I know I should, but that spider, that hairy, crawling thing, I wish I could forget my fear and hatred of them, but I can't. They always seem so cold. A person feels that they have an unearthly, inhuman intelligence behind their beady little eyes. Of course, that's not possible. I think it's just the same.
I wonder if the S quantity will also increase the size of the brain and its ability to think. Still, August 9th, 4 hours later. The mouse has increased slightly in size, but the growth of the spider has been amazing. Its size has been more than trebled. It's almost as large as a child's fist. August 10th, 3 in the morning. Henderson woke me and went into the isolation room where the mouse and spider were kept in a double cage.
Be quiet. I don't want to wake the others. Look at the cages.
Now, what do you... The mouse. What happened to the mouse?
Let's go over to the cage.
Spider. It's doubled in size again.
I know. And the mouse is gone. Now, look at the partition between the 2 pens.
There isn't any partition.
That's right. It slipped or was moved down to the bottom of the cage.
Then that means...
That the mouse and the spider had nothing to separate them.
But what happened to the mouse?
Don't you know, Emery?
Unless
what?
Unless the spider...
And that's just what happened. Another thing, Emery. I don't think the partition slipped down between the 2 cages. I think that the 2 holders for it were opened and then the partition slipped down.
That means you're endowing the spider
With intelligence. Yes, that's right. Remember what I said earlier? What would happen if the S quantity also enlarged the ability of the brain to think? Well, it has happened. That spider will kill. It can think. That hairy, crawling thing can think.
August 10th, forenoon. I didn't get much of a chance to see Sindler before 11. When I did, I discovered Henderson had already told him what had happened in the isolation room. And you know about the spider.
Yes, Emery, I do. Henderson told me earlier.
What do you think about it?
Think? What do you mean?
Don't you think we ought to destroy it?
Destroy it? Of course not. This may be what we're looking for, Emery. This may lead us to success.
But, Dr. Sindler, it might be dangerous.
Yes, it might be. But you remember that the development of the atomic bomb was dangerous, and so is the research going on in countless laboratories across the nation, across the world, Emery.
That spider has intelligence, Dr. Sindler, a crafty, cunning intelligence.
I know that. We have found a new formula to increase the intelligence and size of an animal. And, Emery, it will increase man's intelligence, too. Our contribution to the science of the world will be invaluable. There's nothing to worry about, absolutely nothing.
August 15th. The spider has grown so large that it cannot be kept in the cage anymore. The isolation room is its pen now. It has the run of the entire room. It's as large as a large dog. I must admit that every time I enter the isolation room, I'm nervous lest that thing should attack me. But it generally stays over in one corner of the room. Apparently, it has no desire to harm us. August 25th. Donna and I had taken a stroll outside the laboratory.
Emery.
Yes?
Emery, I've been with Dr. Sindler for several years. In all that time, he's never made a mistake. That is, up to now.
What do you mean, Donna?
I think he's created something that will only bring evil. That will only... Oh, I wish I had the words to express myself.
I know exactly how you feel, Donna. I've talked to him about this before. I'm going to talk to him again when we get back.
I wish you would, Emery. I wish you would.
What are you doing in here, Emery?
I want to talk to you, Dr. Sindler.
Can't it wait till later?
No. That noise, what?
It's the sound of the spider as it moves closer to us. What did you want to say, Emery?
I'll be quite frank about it, sir. I think we should destroy it.
Why, that's nonsense, Emery.
No, it's not. It's true we may learn something. It's true that we may even succeed in our research, but let's start over again. Let's experiment with something else, something that doesn't look like a monstrous throwback to a prehistoric age. Crawls and slides across the floor with its large, beady eyes always open, staring at you. Let's destroy it. What's the matter?
Coming towards us. Come with me, Emery. Quickly.
The creature. It was crawling towards us.
I wonder if it can understand us. I wonder if it knows what we're saying.
Either that or it sensed that I was urging its destruction. Maybe I'm wrong, Henry. But I feel there's something malevolent about that spider. I get the feeling that it's waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the time when it will kill us.
I am beginning to feel some of the terror that Emery Bolton must have felt. I'm beginning to feel the presence of the crawling thing about which he writes through the words upon these pages. The diary continues. September 8th.
The cook and janitor left today. If we remain here, they'll be forced to do all the work they did. Henderson has been acting queerly. There's a strange, haunted look to his eyes. He barely eats at all. Either he's ill physically or mentally. What's the matter with you, Paul?
What do you mean?
You look ill. You're not yourself.
Can you be yourself, Emery? That crawling monster in the isolation room? Well, can you?
No, not exactly.
Let me tell you something, Emery. In my dreams, I see it. My dreams in the dead of night. I see those beady eyes looking for me, trying to pierce the darkness. And I feel drawn to it. It hypnotizes me. And I feel that I'm caught in its web. Just like a fly, Emery. Just like a fly.
It's only your imagination.
I'm not insane if that's what you think. I'm quickly being driven there. Did you ever look at those eyes for any length of time, Emery? Did you ever see the hatred and loathing and evil mirrored in them? I'm not imagining it. I see it. When the opportunity comes, I'm going to destroy it. Sindler or no Sindler, I swear to you, I'll kill it.
October 10th. Henderson has been so quiet lately that I know he has some plan in his mind. Some plan that will culminate in the destruction of the spider. Sindler hasn't noticed any change in Henderson. He's engrossed in his work. October 16th. Henderson whispered to me this evening that tonight he will kill the spider. I sit in my room and write this, with only the desk lamp lit. It is almost 11 o'clock now. And I have the feeling that the moment is drawing near.
What happened?
I don't know. I think we may find the answer in the isolation room. Come with me.
You don't mean that Henderson went in there alone?
I'm afraid he did.
But that's against all my orders. Why would he want to go in there?
Let's kill it.
What do you mean?
He hated and feared the spider. We'll see what happened right now.
Here's the key.
We don't need it. The door's open.
Turn on the light.
Good heavens. Back! Back to the other side of the room.
It seems to understand you, Dr. Sid.
Probably from the tone of my voice. Now, to examine Henderson. He's dead.
Dead?
Yes. After all, in the spider's original size, the poison could kill a man. Here, give me a hand. Help me get him out of here.
All right.
Look out! The spider's coming towards you.
Help me with Henderson. Hurry! Let's get out of here.
Hurry, hurry!
Lock the door, Donna.
Yes, of course.
I don't want that thing to get out of that room.
Don't you think we should destroy it?
No! Henderson was a fool. He went in there to kill the spider. I think the spider's sensitive. That's why Henderson's dead. We are still going on with the experiment.
October 17th, we buried Henderson in the graying light of dawn. Even Sindler was quiet. October 18th, I'm in charge of feeding it. Donna and I were in the isolation room today when a curious thing happened.
Emery, look.
What's wrong?
The spider. It's crawling over to the table with the S quantity.
Under it.
If what?
The spider's trying to get more of the S quantity. Stop growing now because we stopped the injection.
If it were to get more of the serum, it would grow larger.
Going to get that bottle and take it out of here.
Be careful, Emery.
Don't worry, I will.
Look out!
You want to make it fast.
Maybe we better get out of here. It's crawling towards the table.
We have to stop
We
it.
can't. It's lifting one of its legs. What is it trying to do?
Get the bottle, Donna. The bottle of serum.
Knock the bottle to the floor.
It's going to drink that serum.
Get out of here.
You're right.
What are we going to do, Emery?
I don't know.
I heard some commotion down here. What's the matter?
Spider just got through knocking the bottle of chemical serum to the floor.
But that means
That it'll grow larger. I told you we should destroy that thing in there. Now it's too late. We don't know how large it'll get.
Be quiet. I have to think.
That's right. Use your mind now, Cinder, when it's too late. We had a chance to destroy it earlier, but no, you wouldn't have any of that. A man of science, that's what you are. But you're a fool, too, Cinder. A stupid, misguided fool. That thing in there could kill us all.
What the hell?
It's trying to bring the door down.
We better barricade that door. If we don't, it'll break it down in a matter of seconds.
October 24th. 6 terrifying days have passed. The creature in the isolation room is out of all proportion. Though we've barricaded it, the door is weakening. It won't hold up much longer. I called Frank today. We can't leave that thing alone. If it were to get loose, we must destroy it. Cinder has a plan. We've placed explosives just outside the door. We'll give way any minute now.
Only a matter of minutes now. When it breaks down the door and comes through that doorway, the explosive will automatically go off. I hope we're successful.
Why don't we just leave?
We can't do that. We have to see it destroyed. That's the only way we can be sure.
What if
the explosive does not kill it? I don't know what will.
The door is starting to give.
Something to come through. It wasn't us.
Look at his eyes.
Almost as if I were hypnotized.
I can't move. It's so close to me.
Look out! Look out!
Even though the last entry in the diary was marked October 24th at 7 in the morning, in my mind I've reconstructed what must have happened after that last entry. There is evidence all around me of the death and destructive power of that hairy, crawling thing. It must have left the building after what happened. I'd better get back to the city and notify the... In front of me. Something so large. Gigantic eyes. Looming up at me. I can't move.
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. And now, the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the Hall of Fantasy. Welcome to the series of radio dramas dedicated to the supernatural, the unusual, and the unknown. Come with me, my friends. We shall descend the world of the unknown and forbidden, down to the depths where the veil of time is lifted, and the supernatural reigns as king. Come with me and listen to the tale of the Silver Flask.
And so it is that the prophecy of Charming shall be fulfilled. For the evil committed, your reward is death.
And from the mouth of the flask poured a crawling white fog, which became quite dense, and then assumed the size and shape of the demon of the night, and it reached its hands towards his throat.
Stay away from me. Stay away from me.
And so it was that you charmed caused the silver flask to be made. Small and thin it was, with a diamond embedded into its base, so that it could see. And we summoned the sorcerer Charming, and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done. For goodness, it will return good. For evil, it will bring death.
It began commonly enough. Chris and Pat Redfield and I had dropped into an art dealer's shop in the avenue. I don't know what made us go in. I think it's mere circumstance. There was an auction going on.
Going once, going twice, 3 times and gone. Sold to the lady in the brown fur coat.
Oh, that was a bargain, Chris, a real bargain.
I don't know, maybe.
I wonder what'll be up next.
Probably an old bed warmer. We might as well leave. I don't think there's anything here we'd be interested in, Pat.
Oh, just a few more minutes, Chris.
But we'll be late for... Oh, all right, Pat, but just a few minutes.
Oh, now there's a husband for you.
May I ask for your attention once more, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Now I ask you to look at the object in front of me. It's a flask, a silver flask, perhaps tarnished a trifle, but silver nonetheless. How old this object is, no one has been able to ascertain. How it came into the possession of this company is a mystery, but the workmanship is definitely Oriental. For a collector's item, it would be perfect.
I like the
Now,
looks of
who
that.
will
Bid
start
for
the
it, then.
bidding on
I
this
think I will.
valuable piece of art? Come, ladies and gentlemen, who will be the first to make a bid on the silver flask?
Go ahead, Chris.
$10.
$10. The man in the blue overcoat bids $10. Do I hear 15? 15.
20.
$20 for the silver flask before me. $20 is the bid. Do I hear 25? 25.
30.
50.
50.
No, Chris.
$50 is the bid. $50. Do I hear more? $50 is the bid. Going once. $50 going twice. $50 for the third time. Sold to Mr. Henry Stebbins.
Come on, let's get out of here.
All right, Chris.
You really wanted that flask, didn't you, Chris?
Yes, I don't know why, though.
Oh, it's just caught your eye, that's all, darling.
Excuse me. Pardon me, please. Will you let me go through?
Look, Chris, there's the man who outbid you.
Oh, he seems to be coming over here.
He's waving to us.
Wonder what he wants.
Please, madam, will you let me by? Thank you. Excuse me, sir. I couldn't help but notice you bidding against me. I'm terribly sorry that only one of us could own the Silver Flask.
Oh, it's perfectly all right.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stebbins, Henry Stebbins. I'm retired now, you see, and my hobby is collecting unusual art objects. Your name is...
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Stebbins. This is Larry Reardon. How do you do? My wife, Pat Redfield.
How do you do?
And Chris is mine.
Really? I'm very pleased to meet you, all of you, you know. Are you by any chance interested in collecting art objects, Mr. Redfield?
I have an interest. I'm not a collector.
Mr. Reardon?
I'm afraid I'm in the same category as Chris.
I see. Well, I was wondering, I do have a rather good collection, you know, and I hope you won't think it presumptuous, but it's so infrequent that one meets people who are interested in the same things as he. Why don't you, all of you, come to dinner at my house next week? Say Monday?
Why, of course, Mr. Stebbins, we'd be delighted.
Here's my card. You will come, won't you? I'm sure you'll find it very interesting.
The following Monday, we went to Henry Stebbins' house. He seemed quite wealthy, for the house was large and lavishly furnished. After the meal, he showed us his collection, pausing finally when he came to the Silver Flask.
As you can see, the flask is a bit different, shall we say, from when you saw it last.
Why, it's as bright as a new coin.
That stone in the center, it wasn't there when I saw it at the auction.
Oh, yes, it was. It had been covered over by a thin layer of silver. I noticed the imperfection and took it off. Underneath was the diamond.
Are you serious?
Are you sure it's a diamond?
Oh, quite sure, Mr. Redfield. You see, the Silver Flask has quite a history. It's really very ancient.
How old is it?
Oh, at least 3,000 years, possibly more. It's a relic of the Yuan dynasty, lost for over 2 centuries.
How do you know these facts, Mr. Stebbins?
I've been watching for the flask for several years. Many times I was sure I'd found it, but needless to say, I was disappointed. At last, however, it's in my possession. Would you like to know some of its history?
Oh,
yes,
say.
very much.
All right, then. It was first ordered made by the Chinese Emperor Yu Zhuan, made for him by the sorcerer Zhao Ming, who also was responsible for a certain jade dagger I would like to possess. Zhao Ming bestowed this magic upon it. For goodness, it would return good, and for evil, it would bring death. The flask was in the family of Yu Zhuan for many generations. However, 100 years after it was first made, the last of the Zhuans was emperor. A member of his court plotted against him. Strangely enough, the original motivation was possession of the Silver Flask. But the night he came to steal the flask...
What do you want? Where are you? It is so dark my eyes cannot see.
It is pity you not see dagger which brings you death.
Our eyes were upon Stebbins as he talked. Yet we saw not the man before us, but the scene which his words conjured up in our minds. Is this story true, Mr. Stebbins?
Every word of it, Mr. Reardon.
Is that all to the story?
Oh, no, not at all. There's a good deal more to it. A good deal.
I'd like to hear the rest of the story.
Are you sure I'm not boring you?
No.
All right, then. Let me see. Where was I?
The emperor had just been murdered.
Oh, yes. What had originally started as a covetous fascination about the Silver Flask resulted in the murder of the last of the Yuan. The killer knew of the supposed magical properties of the flask, yet he thought it only legend, with no true significance. He took the Silver Flask with him when he left the side of the murdered emperor. No one knew of the emperor's death. When the killer retired for the night, he put the Silver Flask next to his bed, but he was unable to get sleep, and his gaze was drawn to the diamond in the flask. The all-seeing eye that Zhao Ming had given it. It began to glow and shine in the darkness, becoming a thing alive. The killer watched it in horrible fascination. And then he heard a voice.
And so it is that the prophecy of Charming shall be fulfilled. For the evil committed, your reward is death.
And
from the mouth of the flask poured a crawling white fog which became dense, and then assumed the size and shape of a demon of the night, and it reached its hands toward his throat.
Stay away from me. Stay away from me.
So perished the killer of the last of the Juans.
It's a rather fantastic story.
Fantastic? Perhaps. The pattern has been repeated many times since. And perhaps it will be again.
There is something quite fascinating about it.
Yes, Mr. Redfield. Quite fascinating.
Of course, all that happened many years ago. I don't believe it's actually true. It's probably like so many other legends that changed during the passage of the centuries. Endows a person or object with supernatural power. Even though what actually occurred originally was nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh, that's quite possible, Mr. Reardon. But as a collector of these objects and their histories, I much rather prefer to believe the legend, as you call it.
Chris?
Hmm? What?
You're so quiet. What were you thinking about?
It's really quite fascinating. The flask. I can hardly take my eyes off it.
The evening ended shortly thereafter with another invitation from Henry Stebbins that would return soon. Chris was silent as we drove home, his mind lost in thought, only occasionally joining in the conversation. I knew that he was thinking about the Silver Flask. I was inclined to think of the story Henry Stebbins had told us as coming from a man who was highly nervous, a man who, because of his loneliness and preoccupation with himself, would read into the slightest glance a willingness to commit murder. 3 days later, Pat Redfield dropped into my office.
I hope you don't mind my coming in to see you like this, Larry.
Oh, of course not, Pat. It's a pleasure. Cigarette?
No, thanks.
No. What seems to be the trouble?
Oh, how did you...
What a look in your face. What's bothering you?
It's Chris.
Chris?
That's right, Larry. I know it's a strange term to use, but for the last 3 days he seems like a man possessed. Even at night when he's asleep, he has a nightmare. He talks and screams out.
When did this start?
That night we'd seen Henry Stebbins. I can't understand most of his words, but every once in a while I hear him say something about the Silver Flask. He seems to be struggling with someone or something. I just don't know. I'm so worried. I can't even think.
Oh, it's a story that Stebbins told us.
I know, but there must be some truth to it, Larry. Look at the tremendous fascination the Silver Flask holds for Chris. Sometimes I even think he'd be willing to kill Stebbins just to get his hands on it.
In the evenings, I took to parking my car across the street from Stebbins' house to see who his callers might be. About a week after Pat had been to my office, I'd been parked across from his house for several hours. It was almost midnight, and I was on the point of starting my car and driving home. When on my side of the street, about half a block away, I saw a familiar figure walking towards me. He walked slowly, like a man in a trance. His head turned so that his eyes were on Stebbins' house. Chris? What are you doing out here, Chris?
I might ask you the same question.
They're waiting for you.
Why me? Why not someone else?
Because no one else has an interest in the Silver Flask.
Has Pat been talking to you?
Not recently.
Then you know all about it, don't you, Larry? That I want the Silver Flask, that I'm going to get it now, tonight.
No, you're not, Chris.
Yes, I am, Larry. Now, get out of my way.
That knife back in your pocket, you fool.
It's pretty, isn't it? Just press a button and the blade snaps open. Out of my way.
You're not going anywhere with that knife.
No, we'll see about that. Oh, you asked for it, Larry. Oh, let go of my arm.
Drop the knife. Drop it. Drop it.
All right.
That's better. Take this little thing. Now get into the car.
Oh, I'll get into the car all right, Larry. I won't make any fuss about that. You think you're doing me a favor by stopping me. I don't. Maybe my chance is lost tonight, but I'll get another. Don't worry about that. There isn't anything that's going to stand in my way. Not you, not Pat, most certainly not Stebbins. I'd even commit murder to get that Silver Flask.
Chris was quiet and sullen as I drove him home. He didn't say a word to me all the while we were together. I watched him enter the front door of his house, and I drove back to my apartment. When I got there, I called Henry Stebbins.
Hello?
Mr. Stebbins, this is Larry Reardon.
Oh, yes.
You'd better make sure that your house is locked up tight from now on.
Your friend?
Yes. I've been watching the front of your house for several nights. Tonight, about midnight, I saw Chris. I think he intended to break in.
I'll be careful. Thanks for calling.
In the morning, for some reason, Henry Stebbins phoned first the Redfields and then me, and asked us to come to dinner that night. I couldn't understand his line of reasoning unless he enjoyed playing a cat and mouse game with Chris. Pat didn't want to go, but Chris insisted, and promptly at 7 we were at Stebbins' house. We finished the meal and adjourned to the library.
I'd like to see your collection again, Mr. Stebbins.
Oh, I'll be glad to show it to you. Would you two like to come with us?
No, I'll stay here if you don't mind.
So will I.
All right. Then just you and I'll go to see it, Chris.
Suits me.
We'll be back in a little while.
I wonder if we should have let him go alone.
Chris won't try anything while we're here, Pat.
I hope you're right.
Besides, I'm sure that Stebbins can protect himself.
Oh, I'm worried about him, Larry. Chris has changed so. When we're alone, he never says anything anymore. He just doodles on a scratch pad with a pencil. Always draws the same picture.
The Silver Flask?
Yes. I think something's wrong with his mind.
Oh, I don't think it's any...
Just a minute, Mr. Redfield. Where is it? Where's the Silver Flask?
Come on, Pat. We shouldn't have let him go alone.
I figured it would be best to put the flask away. I know it disturbs you quite strongly.
I could kill you,
Oh, we
Stebbins.
stop them, Larry.
Don't worry.
Now, stay away from me, Redfield.
You'd be better off dead.
All right, now, stop it.
Stop it, both of you. He knew I wanted to see the flask. He hid it on purpose.
Thought it would be the wisest thing to do.
Oh, Chris, how could you do such a thing?
Let's just forget this ever happened.
I'm perfectly willing to do that, you know. I really don't mean to gloat, Mr. Redfield, but I have the Silver Flask and you haven't, and I know you wanted it.
Why,
You see, that's why I hid it from you. After all, as long as you don't know where it is, my life is safe. Isn't that right?
Stebbins was right, of course. As long as Chris didn't know the whereabouts of the Silver Flask, Stebbins' life would be safe. But if Chris knew where it was with his overpowering obsession to own it and Stebbins stood in the way, his life would mean nothing to Chris. But Chris had told me that he wouldn't stop, even at murder.
And so it was that you caused the Silver Flask to be made. And we summoned the sorcerer Charming, and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done.
2 days later, I was home in the apartment. I'd sat down with a good book, and it was about 11 o'clock when the phone rang. Yes?
Oh, Larry, this is Pat. You'd better go over to the Stebbins house right away.
Why?
Chris came home this evening. Sat, fidgeted all night long, and then about 15 minutes ago, he muttered something about the Silver Flask and ran out of the house.
You think he was going to see Stebbins?
Yes, I think so. You'll have to hurry over there, Larry, before he does anything.
Have you called Stebbins?
Yes, I warned him. But Chris might do anything. Go over there, Larry. See that there's nothing wrong. I have the strangest feeling that Stebbins is going to die tonight.
At last the time had come. I knew it would, sooner or later. Chris had to be stopped from entering that house at all costs. I hopped into my car and drove over to Stebbins' place as quickly as I could. Within 15 minutes, I was knocking on his front door.
Oh, I'm glad you came, Larry.
Pat phoned you, didn't she?
Yes, I'm sorry I took so long coming to the door, but I was looking out the front window to see who it was. Come in. It's strange what power the Silver Flask has, Larry.
You should never have invited him back here after I told you what had happened.
We might as well go into the library.
You know, I think you better call the police.
You think it's that serious?
Yes.
I'll call from the library.
Is your house secure?
Oh, yes. Everything's locked and bolted. Sit down, won't you? I'll phone the police.
Stebbins, the flask still hidden?
What? Oh, no. It's over there on the table. Perhaps the police can send a man out and you'll be able to go home. Oh, hello? My name is Henry Stebbins. I have good reason to believe that someone is going to make an attempt on my life tonight. What? Name? Chris Redfield. He's wanted something of mine for some time. He'll do anything to get it. Yes, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'll have a man out here in 15 minutes.
I didn't tell you that Chris had a knife the night he came here to kill you, did I?
No, you didn't.
Well, that's funny. Still have it with me.
Well, we'll give it to the police when they get here.
Yes, I'm sure they'll find it.
What?
The knife. I'm sure the police will find it.
What do you mean?
This is Chris's knife. You should never have been afraid of him, Mr. Stebbins. Chris would never really kill you. But I would.
Stay away from me.
I can't do that. You see, Stebbins, everything fits in perfectly now. You've warned the police against Chris. They'll find his knife. They'll never suspect me.
You're insane.
No, far from it. I merely want the Silver Flask.
The curse. Don't forget the curse.
Who believes in curses, Mr. Stebbins?
Don't come any closer.
Just close enough. Ah! Good night, Mr. Stebbins. I have the Silver Flask. It stands in the dresser next to my bed. The diamond shines so in the dark. It seems almost to be getting brighter. I imagine the police are looking for Chris right. The diamond is getting brighter. And there's something else. The sound. Like the sound of escaping air. There's something here in this room with me.
And so it was that you caused the Silver Flask to be made. Small and thin it was, with a diamond embedded into its face, so that it could see. And he summoned the sorcerer Charming and bade him bestow upon the flask the mantle of magic. And this was done. For goodness it will return good, for evil it will bring death.
So runs tonight's tale of the unusual, the terrifying, the unknown. Join us again when next we journey down the corridors of the Hall of Fantasy to hear another strange tale of the supernatural. All characters and events portrayed in these programs are fictional, and any similarity to actual events or persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.
So, a spider grows and grows, gathers intelligence, and a degree of telepathy and more. The idea of killing the weed before it grows was lost on our main scientist. Was it fear or pride that got in the way of killing this creature, perhaps? A bit of both? Or perhaps he was mesmerized. Living in Australia where everything crawls and bites, including some of the people here, this story hits home. Where I live, I'd be going through cans upon cans of bug spray in spring and summer, where spiders are literally scaling from my rooftops to crawl away and die. Sometimes I find that there are no spiders, and then I start thinking, where the hell are they? Look no further than the wasps, listeners. It's horrific. Nests of live spiders being consumed by wasp larvae. They sting and paralyze them, fly them up into their homes, and wrap them up in dirt for their young. So basically, you're anesthetized and you're watching some creature eat you alive. Goodness. So, being sprayed to death might be a good option for those guys, instead of a horror show that awaits them in a stranger's nest. Also makes me wonder why they didn't just burn the thing. Maybe too dangerous. Imagine a giant spider on fire and running around the laboratory. Yeah. I think in the end, they were all drawn in one by one and consumed by that spider creature. The second tale about the flask is a narrative style that I can get behind. Has this monkey's paw sort of narrative style. And any plot with cursed items just gets me going. Love it. So in saying that, an object that draws the attention of our protagonists, lures them in, and then creates chaos around its possession are the kind of stories that I love. No less in an old-time radio episode. And regarding the flask itself, truly a demon resides in that flask, and one of great power to be working to this day. I wonder how you would cleanse an ancient cursed artifact. Any takers? Not me, I think. I wouldn't know where to start besides hurling sage at it. I don't think that would work somehow. Alright, you lovely listeners, stick with me Friday, where I'll be covering something different. And as always, till next we meet.